Yo, what's up everyone? It's Evan with Lions, Bulls, and Bears back for another episode of Crypto Courage. Today I wanted to talk about ways to get wrecked in this space. So I wanted to go over a few of the mistakes I've made. Again, none of this is financial advice, so do all your own research, but I think you'll find that these warnings I'm about to give are valid. So, anyway, I've made some mistakes and learned some things the hard way through my journey in the cryptocurrency space, and I just wanted to share those with you guys because something my dad always told me was a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. So hoping by me sharing this with you guys, you can avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into. So let's start with number one, since it almost just happened again. And I'll explain. Number one is shady exchanges. Stay away from shady exchanges. And so definitely do your research on the exchanges if you're using a centralized exchange. With all the DEXs that are out there now, especially Simple Swap, which really lives up to its name. Super simple. These really shitty exchanges, I don't know, I think their days are numbered in the space, and really I just advise that you stay away from them. Recently I was trying to accumulate more Theta over the last few months, and one of the only places I could find it was an exchange called Hotbit. Don't use Hotbit. You can if you want, but what I discovered when I went to withdraw Theta is my Theta never showed up. Thankfully, I was able to withdraw all the rest of my funds off that exchange, but my Theta just never showed up. I always send a test amount and triple check the receiving address, make sure it's the correct address. That's a mistake I've made back in the day where I accidentally sent. Again, I always send a test, so I lost some small amounts of Bitcoin Cash by sending it to a Bitcoin address, or vice versa. I can't remember exactly. So always make sure you're sending the right coin and that the receiving address is correct. But in this case with Hotbit, I triple checked both times, and I withdrew some Theta twice to two different wallets, and it never showed up. So and then researched it, started doing some research on Hotbit, and they just have terrible reviews. Really bad. Like every other store review is a horror story. So I ended up selling all my Theta for ETH and was able to successfully withdraw all my Ethereum off of Hotbit, and went over to Simple Swap and got all my Theta back. And Simple Swap is amazing. I'll leave a tutorial down below. It is just so simple and lives up to its name. Great DEX, and I really recommend using Simple Swap. Back in the day, I bought, this was a long time ago. I know a lot of you are familiar with Max Kaiser. Yeah, so many of you are familiar with Max Kaiser. Back in the day, there was some people making a coin called Max Coin, and Max had them on the Kaiser report to explain Max Coin, and I ended up buying some, just leaving it on the exchange, and a couple weeks later went to check on it, and the exchange was just gone. Another time this happened was with BTCE, is where I bought my first Litecoin, and thankfully as soon as Coinbase announced that you could hold Litecoin on there and buy Litecoin through Coinbase, I sent my Litecoin from BTCE over to my Coinbase, and then like 2 weeks later the exchange was like seized seized by the government, and the founder was arrested in some money laundering scandal. So yeah, watch out for centralized exchanges. Also had a good friend of mine lost a lot of Tron just for leaving it on an exchange, and when that first Trace Mayer's first like proof of keys campaign, I think took down I don't know, Quadriga and a couple other exchanges. I can't remember which exchange he was holding his Tron on, and yep, all his Tron was gone. And you know, so and just holding your crypto on an exchange, a centralized exchange, is not a good idea. I highly recommend researching which hardware wallet is best for the coins you hold, and I like Trezor and Nano Ledger. I have both of those, and they work great. So hardware wallets are awesome. So yeah, that was one pitfall, is just storing and dealing with shady exchanges. So be careful with that. And like I said, Simple Swap, and there's Uniswap and all these other dexes out there now that are doing really good and making it super easy to buy whatever crypto you want. So one of the other pitfalls I wanted to talk about is phishing scams. Watch out for phishing scams. I actually fell victim to this not too long ago, and they just picked the perfect person to impersonate a good friend of mine who I always talk about with crypto. And it just so happened like a couple weeks before, he'd asked me for a little favor. Genuinely, the person actually asked me for if I could buy something off of him, and he even he needed the money at the time, and so he was even offering to pay me back a little more, some crypto, sweeten the deal. It was over some art units, which are some glass coins. I've talked about them on this channel before. So he asked if I could buy some art units and offered to give me less than face value and of the coins, because they have a face value on them, and then also offered to sweeten the deal and just like take me some crypto. Anyway, I wasn't able to buy the coins, the art units at the time. This reason I'm explaining that is when the Fisher was impersonating my friend on Telegram, which is a cesspool for phishing scams. So be very careful on Telegram. My just guard was completely down, and I didn't think anything of it until he started acting kind of really suspicious. And then I called him, and then turned out that my fear was right, and that I had been fished out of a few $100 worth of Digibyte, which now would probably be over $1,000 with the price of Digibyte. So watch out for phishing scams. Even just barely, after the whole Hotbit thing happened, I was on Telegram just seeing if anybody else had any issues with drawing Theta. I just kind of wanted to see what people would say, and instantly I have phishing scams hitting me up trying to act like they can help me, get my Theta. But just block them, report them, all that. So watch out for phishing scams. Next thing I wanted to talk about is FOMO. It's real easy to FOMO and start chasing price and buying all-time highs. This is not financial advice. Often it works out really good. Had you bought Bitcoin at 20K when it just broke into all-time highs, we're at 60K, you would have been up triple your money. But the parabolic hockey stick charts don't last forever, and eventually there will be a time when Bitcoin's going parabolic and people will FOMO in and buy the top, and this happens a lot. Bearable Bull just did a really good video on this, so I'll just play these words of wisdom from the bull.
I do not recommend you buy all-time highs. Time and time and time and time again, I've seen plenty of people lose a lot of money buying the top of parabolic runs. It is gambling. Know that going into it. And I'm not going to be promoting gambling on my channel. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I bring up Dogecoin today is to let all of you know that you'll never be satisfied. There is always some coin out there pumping more than the one that you are holding. Constantly trying to hop into everything that is pumping will leave you on the sidelines when it really counts. We know in market psychology, people chase green candles. Some people need to learn the hard way, and that's part of life. But if you follow me, I'll try and guide you to the promised land. Ladies and gentlemen, in my Udemy course down in the description below, every single crypto that I've mentioned is in my portfolio is up at least 500%. On average, anywhere between 10 to 15x. There's some cryptos that have 50x'd already. There are plenty of people that have already retired by using that Udemy course resource. And the reason I bring that up is you have to have the crypto instincts to stay away from FOMO, scams, and casino coins. That is nothing more than gambling. You have to have the instincts and the resources to go towards crypto that are building something, providing value to the world.
So I like to make sure that the coins I'm buying have strong fundamentals and I'm not just chasing price, and I'm actually buying the coin based on its fundamentals. You know, sometimes buying the top, it's not the end of the world because you can always buy the bottom, dollar cost average. Find dollar cost averaging is a really good strategy. You know, maybe when it's going parabolic and all the sentiment is just euphoria, maybe that's a good time to either take some profits or you can just, just chill out on your purchases. And then, when sentiment's really fearful and everyone's super bearish and prices in the dumps, then that might be a good time to back up the truck or increase your purchases, either frequency or amount or both. So I find, just dollar cost averaging in and hodling is the way to go. So yeah, watch out for that FOMO. It can get you. You don't want to be stuck holding the bag and then have to wait, through a whole bear market. Again, these are all things I've done. So when I first bought Bitcoin back in 2013, was right at the top of a bubble, and but I dollar cost averaged and bought all during the bear market, and it worked out. So, all right. So another lesson I learned the hard way that I mentioned a few videos ago when I sold a lot of my crypto because I just life circumstances, I needed the money. And that's because I was in debt and investing. And so, and I ended up, settling with the, credit cards that I had. So that way I saved, thousands of dollars that way. But the price right after I settled just skyrocketed and missed out on, all that price appreciation. So, I just wish, in hindsight, I look back at times I had opportunity to sell some assets, whether it was some precious metals or some cryptos to pay off my debt or to not go into debt in the first place. And instead I decided to hold on to the precious metals or the crypto, and it just caused so much stress in my life. And then you just, with debt, it's just a guaranteed lose with the interest. So it's just, I highly recommend staying away from debt and not taking on debt to just speculate or to invest. Sometimes it works out. Again, this isn't financial advice. Do whatever you want. I'm just sharing from my experience that I regret having not sold my assets to avoid going into debt in the first place, and I regret getting overextended and overinvested, and yeah, it would have worked out better had I just not gotten into debt and just held. So yeah, just invest what you can afford to lose and hodl and dollar cost average, and you'll be great, you know. So at least from my from what I've learned, that is the best way to go about it. And again, check with your financial advisor before investing into cryptocurrency or investing at all. I am not a financial advisor. These are just tips. I'm just an enthusiast, and I'm just sharing some tips on ways to avoid getting wrecked in this space. So next I want to talk about catching falling knives, and which is an expression for trying to catch the bottom of a cycle or of a correction or of a pullback. So yeah, just it can be really tricky to time tops and bottoms. A lot of TA people, they'll always claim that they did, and oftentimes many of them do, and there's some really amazing traders out there who get the bottom or close to the bottom and time the top or close to the top. But for me, that was one of my biggest mistakes in cryptos was selling the spike bottom, because I thought it was actually going to go lower and I would be able to put some of my funds back in and catch the bottom. And what I thought wasn't the bottom turned out being the bottom, and it just turned around, reversed, and boom, took off to the upside, and then you're stuck out on the sidelines with no crypto. So careful with timing bottoms. That's why the expression catching a falling knife exists, because you can get hurt that way. So watch out for that. Man, I think that about covers it. We covered shady exchanges and holding your cryptos on centralized exchanges. We covered what else? Let's see, covered FOMO and buying tops. Oh yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. Phishing scams. Watch out for those scammers. It's real obvious when it's somebody impersonating an influencer on YouTube. It's not them, you know what I mean? But when it's somebody impersonating a good friend of yours, a relative or something like that, phone them. Pick up the phone and call them. So that's what I didn't do, and I would still, probably have over $1,000 in Digibyte had I just picked up the phone and called my buddy and be like, yo, is this you? So watch out for the phishing scams. Trying to time, tops and bottoms, and it's about it. Those are pretty much all the main ways. And also just investing in, lastly, is just investing in any project at all that you hear about, just not doing any due diligence or research on the fundamentals of a project. I'm holding still some shit coins from the 2017, just small amounts. It's just dust that I can't get off the exchange, but the prices on them, some of them have come up, so it's time for me to check again. Every once in a while I go on there and check, and as the price goes up, hopefully I'll be able to get it above the minimum and can transfer those into Bitcoin or ETH and then withdraw it from the site. So yeah, watch out for shit coins and scams, scammy projects. But that's not as much of an issue now with the SEC's a little more on top of that. There were a lot of scammy projects back then, but I'm not for government regulation. I think sometimes people need to learn the hard way. So, but yeah, I get why when it's someone's whole life savings, I get why the SEC claims